Welcome to Unsigned Hype episode 15. On this episode, I have the pleasure to talk to the incredible artist TiDUS from New Jersey. Prior to our interview, I asked TiDUS which song he would play for someone that wasn't familiar with his music yet. TiDUS chose the song No Limitations, and if you're not familiar with TiDUS's music yet, here's a snippet of that song before we jump into the interview.
It's a different day, man, what can I say? And I've been patient. Yeah, but anyway, man, in a way, gotta stop my greatness. Man, we on the way, what you gonna say? No limitation. Watch me get away, up on my spaceship. It's a different day, man, what can I say? And I've been patient. Yeah, but anyway, man, in a way, gotta stop my greatness. Man, we on the way, what you gonna say? No limitation.
This is Unsigned Hype. The song you just heard is called No Limitations by TiDUS, who's joining us from Portugal today. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. TiDUS, why is No Limitations the song you would play for someone that has never heard your music before?
No Limitations kind of encompasses everything that I'm about. The vibrations from the song are really nice. It's a nice entry-level song to get into my music. And from experience, having had played that song for people that I don't even know at first, it kind of puts them into this different state that I feel like they weren't expecting at all. And I like to introduce that kind of experience to anyone. So to everyone tuning in, you could tune into that song, No Limitations, if you want to get an understanding of the universe of TiDUS and what I've created for us.
What is that place? What is that place that you try to put people into when they listen to your music?
I like to put people into a place of calmness and comfort within themselves, similar to meditation, but obviously adding in some action, not so much, what would you say, a neutral space, a positively calming zone, like a meditative state, almost if you're like you're driving or you're doing something that relaxes you. My world is very much so that tone. My message is also very much the same. It all encompasses this peaceful state, so to speak.
To me, No Limitations is also a great metaphor for just absolute freedom. And I'm wondering if, as an artist, you've often limited yourself in the past.
Oh, for sure. I've limited myself many times over. Being a free-spirited artist, so to speak. Many times I've had opportunities that I would either pass up on or I wouldn't agree on because I am so independent and free-spirited. And in that context, that has limited me from experiencing different plateaus or different levels of visibility or different groups of people, to be honest. And that just comes from me being stubborn in the past and in my own ways and beliefs, which I was really rigid on. And throughout time, you grow, you mature, you look back on things without regret, I hope, and you learn from that. But many times I've limited myself also in the creative process where, I make the music, I make the beats, I obviously record on them, and then a lot of the music, most of it, I mixed myself, and I enjoy that process. But at times, I felt like it would have been better for me to outsource the mixing process and bring it to someone that more so specializes solely in that, but my own anxiety of wanting to handle most of it myself has limited me from experiencing my music from the perspective of other ears. So, yeah.
There's also a lot of pressure, right? The fear of giving others the opportunity to have an impact on your creative process. So you decide to basically do everything by yourself.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely it's definitely a lot of pressure that I don't really perceive as anxiety inducing pressure. It's just more so I love the task, but at this point in my career, I like to delegate the things to individuals that specialize in that thing. So it leaves me more space to literally just create the raw art form, and then everything else will go to anyone else that specializes in that thing.
Was there a particular moment where you decided to do that, where you were more open to give people opportunity to kind of come in and support you with what you do? Was there a particular reason for you to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. For the most part, in the beginning stages, I took all these things into my own hands because of funds, to be honest. To mix a song, it's like at the time it was at least $500 to $1,000, and like, you know, to do 10 songs, I didn't have that type of cash flow. So I was like, okay, let me learn how to do this myself. And I actually mixed No Limitations myself, and that's probably one of the better mixes out of all the ones that I've done. And getting back that recognition, it kind of just gave me the boost that I needed to keep doing as such. Until recently, about 2 years ago, I started to outsource my music to get mixed by engineers that have experience and nominations and Grammys and stuff like that. And when I got my music back and hearing things that were in the music, obviously that I created, but having them exist in a space to where the music became much more spatial than what I had imagined it to be, and which I knew it was, but it was just an amazing feeling to get that back and have that security and assurance and trust in others. You know, it's a no-brainer for me to, you know, pay $1,500 a song to get it mixed because I know this person's credits. I heard this song, you know, but like to trust someone that I don't know with the credits, you know, like that's kind of where I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Can you talk? That's interesting because it's if people start their career in music and they, you know, there's so many possibilities. You know, you obviously you did and you still do a bunch of stuff yourself. You write, you produce, you mix your albums, and you're very much involved in the process. In the beginning, that might be a solution for someone that is just starting off, and eventually, like yourself, you start reaching out to people that sometimes maybe know more about a certain particular thing than you. How do you find those people? Like, how do you build trust with these people?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first reaching out to engineers was through Sound Better, which was actually in 2018. I got a song called FYTB and a song called My Energy, mixed by Lance Powell, who did a lot of stuff with Wilco and Mumford & Sons, which are like indie bands, but like he's, you know, he specializes in all forms of music. And we just communicated through the platform, and I really vibed with his energy and sent them those records. And after like 2 revisions, got the records back, and I loved what I heard. And he brought things out that I obviously couldn't. And, you know, going back to
like what, for example? Sorry to cut you off, but that's just really interesting to me. What is it that they did better, let's say, than what you were able to do?
Yeah, so even to iterate on better before I answer that question, I already know certified mixing engineers are better at mixing than I am. You know, I never thought that I was better. I just felt comfortable and confident in taking things to my own hands and being able to put out a product that would be enjoyed by my audience. But I know any certified mixing engineer, that's what they do, and the things that they know and the expertise that they have is much greater than my own. But what he brought out was the prominence of my voice, and specific elements in the bass and the drums that I didn't understand. And I also was mixing my music in a room in my house at the time that I soundproofed and built into a studio, but it just wasn't soundproof best for bass. So I wasn't hearing the bass as well as you would in a state-of-the-art studio. And so the resonance in a lot of my music back then, if it played on certain systems, it just wouldn't pan out as great as when I got it back from Lance. That bass was a lot more toned. My vocals stuck out more. They sat on top of the music, and it felt much more balanced and wider than what I did. And so that in itself, I learned a lot from that. And, of course, that led me to go and figure out exactly what he did and try to learn how to do that myself. I'm terrible, but shouts out to Lance Powell. Man, appreciate you.
I'd like to go back to No Limitations and talk about something that, sometimes by artists might be frowned upon. I don't know if frowned upon is actually the right word, but talking about numbers. So numbers, especially in today's society, when it comes to social media reach and building a large fan base, I've talked to a lot of artists who are in a position in their career right now where they're really striving for the big numbers, and not only in terms of their social media reach, but also in terms of streaming numbers. But it's not an easy thing for many of them to really get heard by a larger audience. And you've actually achieved that. But at the same time, I feel like my impression of you is that you're still a very mystical figure. But you've achieved the big numbers. You have the songs with the millions of streams. And I'm wondering what these numbers mean to you at this point in your career and how they impacted your career, basically.
Yeah, the big numbers, having songs in the millions is definitely a blessing and something that I took very much pride in and still am grateful and appreciative of. And I'd advise, artists to not get hung up on that, because you actually never know who's listening to your music. And it could be a person that will take a song that they heard that has 1,000 streams on it and put it on TikTok or on a video of their own. And the next thing you know, it's doing millions. So the key is to keep in the vibration in your own mind that your music is spreading across the world and reaching the right people, because music does travel. Having those streams early on in my career is a blessing, because what that did was it put me in a place of visibility for people to discover me and continue to rock with me on my journey. In the beginning of the playlist era of Spotify, I'd say I would be around 2015, 2016. I feel like it was a lot more of a democratic space or socialist space where independent artists actually had more spaces for them to exist. A lot of those playlists that I existed on where I did garner millions of streams, those slots are now bought out by major label artists. And it's not necessarily the space for independent artists today, unfortunately. But also some of those songs that I have millions of streams, first of all, the mixes were not great, but the songs were great. And because of that, the music traveled. All you have to focus on is just making good music that's true to you. It will spread 100%.
I think you've made it very clear that this is not your top priority, that you're very humbled by the numbers, obviously, and very, very happy and appreciative of how the music is streamed.
Yeah.
What is success to you if these numbers are not success? How do you define your own success in your career?
Success is waking up every day and being able to do what I love and doing what I love, that supporting me, while also inspiring millions of people. I know my music is inspirational and motivational. And to me, that's one of the highest forms of a gift or appreciation or energy that you can exchange to another human being. And in that regards, the universe will reward me. The universe will bless me. The universe will always take care of me, or whatever you want to call that. God, the cosmos, will always take care of me, because the value that I give without wanting anything in return, but just for people to enjoy what I do. I know that sounds very like altruistic and new age and not very commercial, but I speak from a spiritual sense. I understand how the universe works. I understand how the exchange of energy works. The universe is also a very numerical based one, but when we fixate our minds on streams and that validating and using that as a validation to yourself, that can put you in a very vicious cycle of comparing yourself to other artists and trying to make music like this or that because this did that and that did this. And that's not true to you. That's not true from your heart. What we actually resonate with when we listen to music is authenticity, something that feels real and relates to us. And the only way to express that in the truest form is to be raw and purely who you are on that microphone. And everything else will play out in your favor, I promise.
How do you want things to play out for you in the future? Like, you've achieved so much.
I want to hit the stage. I want to hit the stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. I want to travel the world. I want to go Prince level, Jimi Hendrix level, Michael Jackson level. I do want to like be that big per se, or influential, Bob Marley level. Bob Marley never had a number one song. Never. But he will live forever because of the way that he made people feel. And my music is already a testament to that same level of how it makes people feel. I just have to not only just continue to make it, but understand this game and communicate myself visually and on the internet in a way that people understand my lifestyle in relation to the way that the music makes people feel. So just being on the internet more, a bit less mystical, but I'll always be mystical. That's just who I am. So yeah, internet is a huge part, because in today's day and age, back then it was beautiful to have this lore as an artist, to have this mystery, this mystique. It was a very elegant aesthetic. Now it's more so about people want to feel like they know you, like they could be your friend, and you can be my friend. I'm one of the coolest people to hang out with. Like I just need to do a better job at showing that to people.
Is it hard for you to find that the right balance between being out there for the people and doing what feels right to you? Because it does sound like it's a conscious choice of being a bit more mysterious and not being out there all the time, but at the same time, it's also your bread and butter to be there and for the people and to talk about what you're doing every day. And I mean, how do you find the right balance when it comes to that?
I was afraid to do that, to keep it a buck. I was afraid to do that. And that's another thing, going back to the limiting yourself. That was something that was limiting me for a very long time. I was afraid to just show myself in the everyday, and like I don't even really know why, because my life is literally like a movie every day. I wish I would like record some of the shit that I like experienced in my lifetime, but now I approach the internet more like a big brother figure. I have a lot of wisdom to share, and it would just be unfair to not share that, outside of the music. Since the beginning of my career, I've always answered every direct message. I've always replied to every comment, always. I just was never upfront much more than that on the internet. And now I've made a conscious decision too, because I've realized like this form of energy, like what we're exchanging now, which I highly appreciate, is something that people really want to see from me. And once again, you never know who's watching, what 13-year-old is like watching and like getting something from. And I think about that quite a bit. I have a lot of siblings. I'm the oldest of many kids, and they all kind of look to me in some way, shape, or form for some kind of advice or guidance. So it's like, why not give that on all ends?
I want to go back a little bit to your early beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for you, music was already something you dived into at a fairly young age. I think 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And even like starting to write and produce when you were 14, 15, where you knew you wanted to create art. And it all started, I think, with a cousin of yours that gave you like a burnt disc of Fruity Loops.
Correct.
To really get into producing. You're making your first beats and you know you want to make a career out of this at some point. Can you describe what caused that need and that desire to really, pursue a career in music and getting it started?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, shouts out to Enzo Rari. That's my cousin. He's an incredible producer who's went 50-50 on this next album that's about to come out with me. He's an incredible mixing engineer. He was part of the recording process for the first Donda that Kanye released. He's an amazing person, an amazing human being, and I'm forever indebted to him to, bringing that to my attention. Music has always been in my household and around. One of my great uncles was a DJ. My dad was into DJing, and my family just always played all kinds of music. At the time, I was heavily into like outside activities. I was skating a lot, and I was filming that a lot. I was very much into cinema, skating, and sports. And my cousin came over one day to I thought we were going to go out and skate, and he came with that, and we just started making, these very clickety clackety beats. But I don't know. I really don't. I can't really explain it. From that point on, it was just, before I even knew it, I knew it. I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing, like, forever. And maybe a year after that, I had my own gear, a laptop, and I started collecting like hardware pieces like MPC XL. I had an InSonic ASR 10, and I was just making beats every day. And around 15 or 16, I remember I was like going to some like house party or something, and I had just left the house from making music, and I just looked up into the sky, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do music for as long as I can for the rest of my life. And it's just something about it that makes sense to me. I feel fulfilled, when after I make a song or I compose a piece of music that I love, like my entire day is fulfilled. If I go a couple of days without creating anything, I feel like a piece of shit. I'm depressed. I don't feel good. Like I'm also a 3 life path number. So in some way, shape, or form, I have to express myself. And that form of expression, there's just nothing else that does that for me, And then I think like the next level is when I'm like actually on stage performing it. It's beyond like words. I can't really explain like how that feels. It's just beyond. It's beyond this earth. It's beyond, and that's something indicative of how meta, music is. It could take us to like another dimension almost, and it heals cells in the body. It's like it just gravitates to me in that way.
Everything I dreamed of, everything I seen of, now it's looking green though. And we smoking blue though. Going up Pluto. That's just what I do though. What the fuck do you know? Just looking at the sky, yeah. Giving it a try, yeah. Trying not to die, yeah. Trying to get by, yeah. Trying to keep flying. Trying to keep flying. Trying to keep flying. Trying to keep flying. All my niggas get hired. All of my niggas get hired. This is the life we decided. Cannot deny it or fight it. Cannot deny that we riding. Cannot deny that we shining. All I just wanted was guidance. That's why I look where the sky is. And can you show me where the light is? Feel like I've known you for light.
This was the song Angels by TiDUS, and now back to the interview.
Being on stage, my man, is, man, you know, it's, and I can't say I've been on stage in front of thousands of people, but I've been on stage in front of hundreds of people. So I can only imagine thousands. And even within those crowds that were, you know, a couple hundred people, just seeing people, like looking them in the eyes, them looking you in the eyes, and singing the words back to you from a song that you made in your room by yourself, is different. I can't really explain it. It's a different kind of thing. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Making a song in your room makes me think about, you know, the question about that first song. Do you remember the first song that you've recorded and put out?
Yeah, the first song that I recorded and put out was on a tape called Got Fans. And I don't think that's anywhere on the internet. But I recorded that with some friends, and I don't even remember the first song, but I know I sampled jeez, how am I forgetting his name right now? DJ starts with a P. I'm forgetting his name right now. I'm sorry, bro, but it's
all good. It's all good.
It's a legendary record. I sampled that. That was the first song on the album, and I put it out on YouTube. This was the beginning of YouTube, but I mostly had it on CDs. And I actually started an LLC officially at the time. I was 19 years old. It was my first business that I started, was an LLC. And I bought a bunch of CDs, I pressed them, and I was just driving around my various towns in my township, selling them and giving them away. More so giving them away because I just wanted people to have the music. And the feeling I don't think I registered the magnitude of what I would be doing in the future. Because at this point now, it resonates on a much more conscious and appreciative. Then it was just like, yo, I'm so stoked that we made this music and I want to give it out. I didn't even know how it was going to affect people. Now that I know how the music affects people, that feeling is much greater.
So it sounds like it was based on just you wanting to, you know, you've recorded something, you just wanted to share it with the world. How did you know it was ready with no prior experience to making a lot of music? Is it just like an intuition that you say it's ready, it's going out? And how long did you work on that first song until you felt like it's good for people to hear?
I had no gauge back then. Back then I was just listening to all the greats, and there weren't so many like people my age at the time. Back then I was like 19 years old, and there weren't many 19-year-olds on the radio, if at all. Back then I was just listening to like Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Mobb Deep. Like I had some early like Flying Lotus in there, Madlib, Jay Dilla. Like these guys are older than me, so I didn't really have any gauge, or I wasn't comparing it at all. It just sounded like the greatest shit in the world to me because I was just making it. So I was like, yo, I can't believe I made this. Like this needs to go out. And which is, it's wild to think about. I wasn't thinking about how good the mixes were or how my voice sounded. It's almost like a child that has no gauge of what they're doing. They just love what they're doing and they just want to put it out. And I think that's extremely important to keep at least some of that while you're creating.
Yeah. When does I'm just putting things out and just trying things out become I am an artist for you, TiDUS? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. When you start seeing comments and people resonating with what you do, and when the people around you start to change and, look at you in a way like, yo, this can go somewhere, then you start to become conscious of what you're doing. And for me, that was around 2000, in between 2013 and 2015. I would say 2013, actually, when I put out a record called New Age. And then I was with a management company called 3/4 at the time, whom also managed Odd Future and the internet and Frank Ocean, Steve Lacy. And I was with them and working on music and understanding the business and being around the business and shaking hands with executives and being around the internet, being around Tyler, being around Frank, and seeing how serious they took it and how the people around them that were on handling the business side, how serious they took it. And not to say that I never took my music serious, because I was always confident in that my music would go somewhere. I just never incorporated the business and commercial processing side to the art after it's made. And those aspects, just as creative as I am, I'm very much business minded as well. And when I started to mature that side of my mind is when I became a lot more conscious of what I was doing and how that was going to affect. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because also looking at your story, you mentioned 2014, 2015. It seems like those years were a really massive turning point in your career. From what I know, you went on a spiritual hiatus for a while. You came back a year or two later to release a trilogy, basically. Soon You'll Understand first, then Why We're Here on Earth. A bit later, then Before It's Too Late. That was such a switch in sound compared to the things you did in 2012, when you were starting to actually get some mentions in the media, when you released the Mirrors EP, and also New Age that you just mentioned. Songs like Gone Face and Delancey were so different. What happened in that time? What happened to the TiDUS, 2012 TiDUS, before this hiatus that you took before releasing this trilogy, that also had such a massive impact on the switch in your sound, basically?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. 2012 TiDUS didn't have a long-term vision. 2012 TiDUS was very much rooted in creating a caricature around himself. 2012 TiDUS was just getting lit and like just being like a rock star on the music. And all that was great. And it aligned with the people that were around me at the time. Once again, like 3/4 and like David, and being around Our Future and like all of them, like that was great. But once again, I limited myself, because when I seen that how that was going, and like I was kind of gonna be like marketed with and like through like Odd Future in a way, or in pairing with them, I didn't like that. I didn't want to to come into the game like that. And I energetically rejected it in a way. And I went back to New York, and my spiritual hiatus was me actually having to sit down for almost a year. And then, after that, I came about and released New Age, which was a collection of those songs from like around that time. And that stuff was very different. And we were trying to have it come out and be around people at the time that were like in Def Jam and connected to Kanye and like all of this. And like, honestly, I feel like that sound is what influenced Yeezus, but that's a whole nother conversation. And when I started to realize like what was happening, I just kind of got disgusted and repulsed by like the whole vibe of like the industry. And I said, fuck all that. And that's when I separated myself from all of that, like 2012 TiDUS and like 3/4 and like all of that. I was like, all right, let me get away from that. And I was mad for a bit. I was jaded. I was like, fuck all of this, but I was still making music. And around 2015, when I decided to start putting out music again, I recorded Soon You'll Understand in the course of like 3 weeks. I was going into the studio like 4 a.m., coming out at like 10 a.m. with a song for like 14 days straight. And the objective was to just speak my soul as true as possible. And I wasn't doing that in 2012. 2012 was just like, it was still honest, but it was like very spacey, alien, like kind of like animated kind of stuff. Like,
and it sounds like it was mostly pleasing others and the industry rather than pleasing yourself and being at peace with yourself with what you wanted to do.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was influenced definitely by other ears around me and voices and all of that around me, and it wasn't all the way who I was and who I am. But those elements were definitely part of my life and lifestyle in the time. But it's like if I would be mad at myself right now if I would have stayed on that like vibration, like from then till now, if I was still on that, like nah. So 2015, I feel like 2016, So You'll Understand, is actually the start of like TiDUS, like fully like being who TiDUS is and like introducing people like to that journey. And that was me going into the studio every night and speaking my soul as raw as possible. And there was obviously no one around me. There was nobody coming into the studio like, yo, what you working on? Like none of that. It was just literally by myself, talking to myself, walking in circles, putting stuff on a microphone and coming out 10 in the morning, going home, crashing out, waking up in the afternoon, doing it again, right? It became a routine and that I still practice to this day. And that change was me saying, okay, I know that I'm in a dark place. I know that this is where I'm supposed to be, but not where I will always be because it's not where I ultimately want to be. So I'm going to document how I feel in each of these stages. And yes, that year, 2016 to early 2017 is the first trilogy. There's 3 trilogies. Currently, we are in the second one. And each album is a different chapter and or lesson that I've experienced or was currently experiencing in my life.
And that first trilogy, the lesson from the first, or that defines the first trilogy, is to focus more on what you want and what you feel is right?
Focus on whom you are, find what your power is, and believe in it. So soon you'll understand it's like, all right, I know I'm on some shit. Y'all might not understand it yet, but you definitely will. Why we're here on earth is understanding what I have and what I'm going to communicate will help others understand why the fuck we're here. Before it's too late is, okay, y'all are getting it. I'm getting it. Let's continue on this pathway before it's too late. Once you believe in yourself is literally that. It's the law of belief, the power of belief. And this next album is called From the Bottom of Your Soul, which is exactly that. Shadow work. Before we can fully reach enlightenment, we got to dig down deep into the depths and get all of that out.
Speak about my side, yeah, know you by our side, yeah, got me to the dark side, yeah, still doing our past life, yeah, still seeing through the test line, yeah, still breathe through the stress high, yeah, still giving my best side, found my eyes, I'm on the west side, and I'm still T from the east side, brick city now, 7-3 side, and my mama on P shine, 7-3 hustle my street sign, and I've been knowing my D sign, and I've been knowing it's divine, follow my soul like each time, I left the old, won't rewind, I gotta go and reach mine. If it don't float, it's peace sign. Gotta be the judge, gotta decide. I cannot chill, can't recline. I gotta wait to deep mine. And my thoughts like knee high. Using them to see my higher self, just be high. Rolling up my medicine. Moving in the present tense. I'm getting a better since I feel like God's evident. See the signs they haven't said. See the blessings, let them in. Trust yourself, I recommend. Can't deny, you can't pretend. And I'm still deep from the east side.
This was the song Each Time by TiDUS, and now back to the interview. The question that I ask myself is, how, so you start off with first beats, writing first songs, you have your foot in the door. 2012, things start happening for you. You put out your first releases, and then you have the switch in 2014, 2015, with then the new TiDUS, the new releases coming out in 2016. Is there a way to describe how does an artist like yourself find a new sound? Like, how do you find the right sound where you can say, this is what I want to put out, and this is who I am, and this is who I want to be in the future, versus the caricature that you mentioned before that you were between 2014 and 2016? Is there a way to describe that?
That's a great question. That's an amazing question. And I'm just going back to what I was thinking. I know in the beginning of the Soon You'll Understand recordings, one thing I was telling myself was, I want the music to be the cloud in the sky and my vocals to be the emotions that I'm feeling floating over the cloud. That was as clear as what I visualized it while I was making it. As far as finding the new sound, I literally just incorporated different elements from all of my music prior and new things that I was hearing. And that's kind of how that came out like that. I was just taking different spices and sauces from different things that I've used before and new things that I was hearing. Like, and Soon You'll Understand, a lot of the like hi-hat patterns were like weird, and it wasn't really like trappy. It was just like almost kind of like what you hear in like UK grime and like drill like today. It was like strange syncopation and like different drums. But I think also on top of that was the way that I was vocalizing was very mantra based. It was very much so. Still as same thing today. It's like my melodies, I kind of repeat the same melody. The melody is like kind of like the mantra. Yeah. And I didn't think about that. I was just doing it. It's weird. Yeah. Yeah.
Were there many tries, or like how fast is that process going back to the studio recording, starting recording with your new sound, basically starting recording Soon You'll Understand? How fast are you there where you want to be? Is it a process of like a year or 2 years, or is it fairly quickly that you've, like you mentioned, the spices, the sauces, the new mixed with the old? How long does that process take?
Depends on when it hits you, but you can, I feel like at this point I can pull it out anytime. I literally have hundreds of unfinished songs that probably will never get finished because I feel like if I don't make it right there in the spot, if I don't make the body of the music, the body of the song right there in that first sitting, I'm just not gonna go back to it. So like Soon You'll Understand, every song that's on there I made in one night, literally. And I might go back to like add some harmonies or something, but usually I make the song, every song that's like slaps, like I made it in one sitting. Like I have to get all the energy out right there because that's when it's the best. That's when it's the rawest form. Every song I made it right there. Now the beat, I might have sat on the beat for a few days or a week or two, not with Soon You'll Understand, but like stuff after that. Soon You'll Understand was everything was made right there. Beat was right there, vocals right there, done. Next day, beat right there, vocals right there, done. Next day, so on, so on, so on. Every song. See You There, Powers, right there. Just made it right there, right there, right there, right there. Delancey made it right there, like 10 minutes. You know, like some of my best shit I made in like 20 minutes. You know, because you hear the music and like, oh, then you start mumbling something or melodies are coming out and it's like, you gotta get it out right there. As far as the sound, the actual production, I definitely over time it's best for me to kind of just download new experiences, hear new things, and then I'll sit down for like 3 weeks and record a project. I'll take all of that and like sit down for like 2-3 weeks, record a project. It should never ever take me more than like 2 or 3 weeks to record a body of work. Never. If it does, I'm thinking about it too much. I'm sitting on the song too long. And then it'll just never come out.
So the new release, the new LP is done?
Yeah, the new LP is done. I recorded 80% of it December of 2021, actually. I just had gone through some shit and I just felt really fucked up emotionally. And it provoked me to reflect on past traumas and past love relationships that went wrong and childhood issues. And I just recorded it in literally like 2 weeks. Like every song was boom. Okay. Before I would even add drums, I would add like some strings or something and already have the melody. Then I recorded it. And then I would either send it to my cousin Enzo and he'll send some drums back, or I'll already have some drums. And I'm like, yo, what do you feel about this? I'll send it to him. He'll send it back. And I sat on it because I didn't think it was the time to release it. And I already had these other songs from Once You Believe in Yourself. So I said, okay, let me get that out. And then I feel like after that is the time to release this new stuff.
Do you have a release date in mind already when this might be
Yeah, I do actually. End of April or first week of May.
That's amazing. Something to look forward to for sure.
Absolutely. I have a couple projects that I want to release, a couple collaborative tapes. And I want to finish the second trilogy this year. So chapter 5 being the middle, and then chapter 6 sometime at the end of fall. We'll have that as well.
Going back to, talking a little bit about, the music industry, I'm wondering what you wish you would have known about the music industry prior to becoming a part of it.
Yeah. I wish I would have known that in some way, shape, or form, you got to play the game. In some way, shape, or form, you have to be okay with giving up some of your freedoms and ideas. I wish I would have known you're going to have to do a lot and not get back anything. I wish I would have known there's a lot of people that don't have ideas, but they have money, and you have ideas and no money at the time, and they take those ideas, and you'll never get credit for those ideas, but the ones that know, they know. If I would have known all these things, it probably wouldn't have been good, because I would have never entered it. It was good that I did know, and I entered, and I learned these things, and then I took a step back and I said, okay, I'm going to learn how to navigate this industry independently, and I'm going to be able to grant that wisdom to others in the future. I'm going to be very successful in my regards, and I'm going to open up doors for others that wish to take a similar pathway, because at the end of the day, the music business is it's a business, but today's day and age, the internet has changed how we need to do business with the music business. You can blow up on the internet, and then you can go sign away your life for $1 million. For like, what is $1 million? $1 million isn't even a lot of money. I can go, I have multiple ideas that make me millions of dollars right now, right? So it's not about that. It's about, how will my kids' kids be able to benefit off of what I leave here? How will the generations beyond be able to, benefit off of what I leave here? How will I, in my time here, be able to enjoy the fruits freely, the things that I create, my intellectual property? And the industry is full of individuals that don't care about the actual art. They don't care. It's just like, is this marketable? Anything is marketable. Everything is marketable, right? So it's more like, oh, this person garnered this much attention on their own. Let's go grab this person and amplify that attention. That's great. That's awesome. If I ever were to do business with the music business, with people on that side, my leverage will be so ridiculous that my leverage has to be like ridiculous, and it's not quite there yet. So I'm good doing it how I'm doing it right now. Yeah.
You mentioned opening doors for others, and
Sure.
you are an inspiration for many, and many also who might start, want to start in the music industry. And you've shared some of the advice that you would give them. But my 2 final questions, actually 3 final questions. But before we get into that, what are the particular advice you have for someone that is about to get started and wants to get started building a career in music? What would you want to tell them right now?
Just make music, have fun, love it. Don't ever lose that passion by comparing yourself to other situations, or thinking you need to get a deal, or if you don't have 1 million followers and you're a failure. Just make music and have fun while doing it. It's going to travel, I promise you. Don't get caught up in the numbers. Just create it. Yeah.
Do you have people that you're following, or people that you've met, artists that you've met who are at the starting point of their career that you might want to share here, so we can add them to our Unsigned Hype playlist? People that have just started, or might not have the millions of followers yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like to shout out my guy Justin Valentine, XO. He's an incredible up-and-coming talent. He's an amazing guitarist on the guitar, and he has a great voice. And right now, I'm giving him insight and just sending him in the right direction. He already has his own direction in music, and he actually played guitar on this next record coming up. So, shouts out to him. There were a couple artists who were trying to start out, but they went in other directions. So off the top, I'm definitely going to say shouts out to EXO. Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. What do you do it all for?
Fulfillment, satisfaction. I love to do it, and I intend on this love that I love and passionately love to do not only continues to inspire people, but also supports me generously financially. Then I will be absolutely complete and continue to give y'all music for free and whatever else that obtains. But at this point in time, it's something I just love to do. I love to express myself in this way, and I know that it affects people positively. Like that's a blessing. I'm just connecting the bridge between that and being successful commercially as well.
TiDUS, thank you so much. Really enjoyed this talk. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your story.
Man, likewise. Thank you for taking the time to hear me out and share this to others that may want to or need to hear this.
This was Unsigned Hype episode 15 with TiDUS. The track you're hearing right now is called Calling. You will find the song in the Unsigned Hype podcast playlist, along with all other songs discussed in this episode. Make sure to support TiDUS by checking out his music and following him on social media. TiDUS is also planning the release of 2 new albums next year and to go on a world tour, so make sure to look out for that as well. And for your weekly Unsigned Hype, make sure to follow us on Spotify and Instagram. All the links are in the show notes below.
One-sided, then you show